Okay, so tonight I will be doing a little bit more playtesting on the block mining simulation game. So today I actually did a bit more work on it. I made some changes to the block representation, and so I'll just do the same thing I always do and talk a bit about that. So probably one of the first things I'll go over is I'll do that later when more people join, but basically I had to figure out a better internal representation for the blocks in the game, because in one of the last streams I was thinking about adding a couple new like pick types. One pick type that's like mines one block, and then you get an upgraded pick and you can mine out further or something. And then I realized that I don't actually have a good way to implement that, because if I have multiple blocks that have the same representation, I haven't actually with the way the blocks are represented internally right now is exactly just the literal emoji character. And all along I've been thinking about swapping out that for like a better representation and having the internal block representation different than like the skin, basically. I got my first chatter. Mr. Whopper says, hello, how's it going? Yeah, so that's what I worked on today. And unfortunately that will actually make the blocks take up a little bit more space internally, but I guess I'll find out today if that makes it like unreasonably slow. How are you doing today? Not too bad. I got for this stream I got an energy drink with me, so hopefully I'll be a little bit more lively than some of the last few. And let's see, what else did I do? Another thing is I fix, so if I do Control Alt F3, I fixed some significant issues in there was a deadlock when I tried to run the game in the TTY. And I'm pretty confident that's fixed now. So good luck with your live. Bye. All right, thanks for stopping by. My computer fan is really spinning today. It's pretty warm here. It's like one of the warmest days we've had all year. And I also centralized where the graphics are stored today. So I have, I used to have each individual block class would have a different, the actual representation for the block would be in that class file, but I centralized them, and I did that so I can also make it easy to switch. So I added a -- restricted graphics flag. So now I can actually run the game right in the TTY. And this was a case that Carlo mentioned a few days ago, and I tried it out and it didn't work. And the main reason it deadlocked was because I had a race condition in in the way that I was determining the character widths. So I have this like state machine that's used to print out a test character and then print out the escape sequence needed to read the cursor position, and then like do some math to figure out how much it advanced to empirically measure how wide characters are. And part of that state machine had I needed a lock around something. And last time I thought I'd fixed it because I was able to reproduce that same deadlock on the other computer, and then I fixed it by adding a lock. But then when I moved the exact same code to this computer again and demoed it, it didn't work. All right, so this works, and that's on my local computer. But let me move this a bit closer. I can kind of hear my computer fan in the background today. Oh, that's unrecognizable on the screen. Yeah, makes sense. Your computer must be getting pretty hot during extreme terminal block binding. Yeah, actually, it's the block binding simulation is running on a different desktop server that I had. My laptop is the fan is just always right up at the max. It's pretty annoying, and the worst part is the bearing is starting to go in it too. It's the next thing I'm going to look for, one of my next criteria in my next laptop is going to be like making sure it's not constantly overheating. It seems to that's becoming a big problem now. All right, I think that demo works. It's hard to see, so I'll go back to the regular TTY. What's your laptop? It's a ThinkPad. I bought it a couple of years ago, I think. I remember when I first bought it, I thought like I might as well get it, from a reputable place. So I bought it from the official Lenovo store. And when I first bought it, like from the official manufacturer, they said the lead time on it was going to be like 9 months for them to actually to manufacture it and deliver it. So I was like, that's insane. And because I was shopping around, there's somewhere else I could buy it. Actually, I ended up canceling, and then I bought it somewhere else. Forget where. I don't know if it was Newegg but it arrived the very next day. I was very impressed. This was kind of near the peak of the COVID supply chain crisis when everything was slowed down. Have I used ThinkPads nowadays and refurbed them? Interesting. Yeah, it's I haven't needed to buy a new computer in a few years, but it's definitely something you can save insane amounts of money on if you know what you're getting, and you know, like, if you know where to get it. Like the difference between retail price and what you pay on eBay for certain like server components can be pretty extreme. So I know this doesn't look any different, but the internal representation of the blocks has been completely changed, and that's necessary for adding new block types, at least new block types that will look the same as another block type but have maybe different behavior. So it hasn't crashed so far. So I can show a bit about the internal representation difference. How do you make terminal redraws update so smooth and not jittery? I guess I do have some like intelligent stuff to just like kind of do some comparisons and to make an attempt to do the minimum number of redraws. It actually is kind of it is a bit jittery in some cases, but yeah, this I guess is just mainly logic, like checking to see like does the screen at that position actually need to be updated. All right, so there's the new representation. It's hard to, SQLite makes it difficult to read. Actually, maybe I'll select data. Yeah, so that's the data. Before I let it had the literal emoji character, and so now what I'm moving toward is at each block, I want to try and have some kind of like meaningful universal identifier. So for like if you look up that number, that gives you calcium carbonate. So CAS is a registry for chemicals and stuff. So it's like if you want to name a standardized chemical, you can say, give me a certain chemical with the given CAS number. And then I was also thinking about like, what do I do for like plants and animals and stuff like that? And I mean, there's no animals in the game, but at this point, I'll maybe start off with some plants. So I have a piece of wood. I decided like what's a meaningful standard for that. So there's something called GRIN, which is that's a database for identifying standard way to identify plants. I think it's specifically seeds, but this is I think a fairly non-arbitrary way of referring to something that's it's not arbitrary. What do you say? You basically have to be a dev to make this game on a Kickstarter. Besides compiling, what is there to it? Sorry, I'm new here. I figure I just want to like downplay it as much as possible, because really it is kind of like if you think you're getting like a really polished Steam game or something like that, that's not what this is. It's like a bundle of software, and there's really not much in terms of game mechanics in it. At the moment it's pretty basic. You just wander around and mine some blocks. So I'd rather have like people have very low expectations and get a lower number of dedicated users, and then once I actually have some more game mechanics and there's more compelling story, and right now to run it, you basically just can run the jar, and it will not work on you won't be able to run it on Windows. So if you have to run Linux, then you're already in a pretty small category of people. Will it have an Ender Dragon at some point? That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, but I think maybe some kind of dragons at some point. Yeah, it's I think it is quite possible. Like to run it, you're gonna have to have Java, what is it, Java 17 installed. So like if you don't know how to install Java, then you're gonna have a really hard time. In 10 years, when this becomes a smash hit, will today's backers get the full version for free? I guess that's a good question. Of course, as things become more successful, they I guess it really depends. If it gets sold off to Microsoft, then Microsoft probably won't give you that. But I'll probably try to keep it open as anyone who pledges now, anyone who pledges to this Kickstarter will be for the foreseeable future. All future versions of the game will be covered under that one-time pledge. Yeah, so this is this here is Grin. So this is some random I think it's a type of where is it? I can't really read these. I think I typed in pine for this one, and then but anyway. %100% of all your subscribers, and probably everyone here, are probably Linux users. Actually, there are a surprising number of people that are like some of the videos that trend a bit wider, like the how to make a CPU video. That one seems to be getting that one video is getting like 25,000 views every single day, and in the world, there's not that many hardcore Linux users, but and I do get comments every now and then from people who are like, I have no interest in Linux and I've never used Linux. Why am I watching this video? And that's probably that's kind of part of my goal. The goal is to get more people into the whole Linux free software universe. Sorry, sorry, I'm not sure what the context on that is. as Lunduke said, Linux sucks, but it sucks less than most others. Yeah, Linux is, man, it's like Windows has been going crazy lately. Like they're bringing back that, what is it, Windows Recall, that thing that like watches everything you do. That's, I mean, Linux has been, or Windows has been unusable to me for years, but now it's like, I mean, it's gonna bring, like, you know, normal people are going to start thinking about using Linux now. Mason C says, "Hi, love your vids. Thank you for the support." Hello, Robert, and rest of chat members. Hope you're all doing well today. Yeah, today was a pretty good day. I got set some goals to get to fix some stuff, and I accomplished that. Oh, I need some more wood. Can you say something in your voice that you use for shorts? I guess probably the block mining simulation game is my favorite. It's my favorite Linux game. Is that what you're looking for? Ten out of 10. Thank you. I'll have to start charging money for that. Yeah, it was kind of my. I think it was a you know, a deliberate idea to make that intro as ridiculous as it is, but I think it works. People seem to like it. It's the key thing I was going for was just like a distinctive, memorable thing for branding. Because when you watch one of those videos, the favorite Linux command videos, even if you think it's weird, you will remember that for a long time. Or at least if you watch like one of them and you watch another Linux short a year later and it has that same intro, you'll be like, oh, it's that same guy. I've seen this once before. Whereas if you think about the branding on the average Linux video, like it's like there's a, you know, a subset of the Linux YouTubers that all like look the same and they're indistinguishable. That like you watch one video for one and you can't tell the difference between them and 10 other people. My favorite intro. The greatest part was when you said in the channel intro that you talked about your favorite command in your most recently posted. Oh yeah. That's a nice trap, so that people will be like, oh, I'll just go to the channel and see what the most recent video is. And then they watch it and they're like, oh, it is the most favorite. PowerShell is my favorite Linux command. And other idiocies. What is the best source for learning useful Linux commands? I don't know. I guess my channel is pretty good. I guess it depends. Like beyond if you just watch through a bunch of my shorts, you'd have to ask like what specifically are you doing. So if you're doing like networking or something, then you want to focus on networking commands. And yeah, I guess just any kind of simple search. So what you need is just like a modifier in addition to Linux. So Linux and something, and I mean you can build a whole career on a certain subset of commands, like disk management tools, disk formatting, disk partitioning. There's like tons and tons of commands for that stuff. And I don't know them all. It's kind of like a need to know basis. And then like if you want to debug like Wi-Fi and networking, even different subtypes of like networking protocols, there's like a whole family of commands and tools, and really at that point it's less about the commands and more about like whatever you're controlling. RUTE user manual. I'm not sure what that abbreviation is for. I mean, you'll have to learn how to read man pages eventually, because that really helps for quick things. Yeah, everyone says to read man pages, but like people say that kind of like a meme. I think very few people like actually sit down and read, all the man pages. In fact, I'm pretty sure they don't, based on like I did those couple of videos I did on did a few videos talking about man pages and info pages, and like from what I've learned about man pages and info pages, and like how kind of strange and like they're both lacking in information. It leads me to believe that there's very few people that like really go deep and try to learn it. df-h is my favorite Linux command. I would only use it to look up an argument that I forgot. Yeah, that's basically what I use it as. It's like it's a reference, not a light reading for study. I guess it can be kind of interesting to just peruse around in the man pages just to like discover new things that you didn't know exist. But I guess it depends if you're like recreationally playing around on the command line, or if you're actually trying to get useful work done. Because if you're trying to get useful work done, you probably don't have time to really sit down and read the man page. Root is a wordplay on root. It's a guide written by Paul Scheer. Goes way back, with pretty much the gold standard for beginners. Interesting. I haven't heard of it before. I really need to add some indication to this to show like levels, so I can find caves without having to just I can actually get some like depth perception. Any of you guys use VI, Vim, NeoVim? I'm a Vim user. That's multiple Linux commands. NeoVim. Actually, you know what? I don't even know what NeoVim is. Is it just like a graphical version of Vim that works in in a graphical session? Fork of Vim that uses Lua instead of Vim script. Yeah, I tried out Vim plugins back in the day, but I've kind of settled on like I don't use any Vim plugins at all. I've kind of just adapted my workflow to always use default. It's too much work to install. Like if I'm on a new server or something, if I just set up a new machine. Vim-G is horrible. Is that the graphical version? NeoVim is more extendable, you could say. But then why not Emacs and Evo mode? I think I've used Emacs for probably a total of like, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes cumulatively, but nothing beyond that. It's really like Vim is more of a Vim commands are more like a grammar that you can use to kind of construct things, whereas in Emacs it's like a bunch of random very specific things you have to memorize. Why are you mining? Why not? Everything other than plugins in NeoVim, same as Vim for all intents and purposes. If you know how to, that annoying heart is always in the way. Let me adjust my screen to fix that. It's still in the way. I don't know what to do to make that go away. Someone who uses mostly Nano, hearing a Vim, users say that Emacs require a lot of memorization. It's very scary. Yeah, it does seem, Emacs does seem more like arbitrary memorization. Whereas in Vim, you can kind of like, you can learn some rules. You can like memorize a few things, but once you, like in Vim, how you can do VI and then like one of a number of different characters. So like VIT will get everything between HTML tags, and like VI bracket will get everything between the matching brackets. And so it kind of, and from that you can predict that like VI single quote or VI double quote, that'll highlight everything between matching quotes. And Vim is full of stuff like that. Emacs is a great operating system. It's just missing a good text editor. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people refer to it as an operating system. I can't really, I can't say too much to that effect, given that I don't use Emacs. I use Cygwin just so I can use Vim. Cygwin is that's the like Windows the Windows tool that gives you like a Linux-like command prompt, if I remember correctly. I thought that was kind of not needed anymore due to the existence of the Windows subsystem for Linux. Yeah, it does. What is this? Windows subsystem for Linux you speak of? It's the whole thing that Windows is trying to, I guess, give you a... They have like a version of... I think they have a... Maybe it's just an implementation for the interface of the Linux kernel in Windows. So you can use... if you turn on... I always mix it up. Is it Windows subsystem for Linux, or... I think that's it. I don't think it's Linux subsystem for Windows. You can just Google it, Windows subsystem for Linux, and I was under the impression that it was basically kind of obsoleted Cygwin. You might need to, I think at one point anyway, you had to turn it on. You had to like turn it on as like a developer mode type thing, but I don't know if that's still the case. I've only ever used it once. I haven't touched a Windows computer in a few years. My school had student cluster, and they recommended Cygwin as an alternative. Yeah, I think it's. I haven't used Cygwin since probably when I was back in university. So at least like 10 years or so. But it was kind of I remember Cygwin was kind of. I remember it was the standard way to, if you wanted to use Git source control on Windows, the command line version, Cygwin was like the default way to do it. And I remember setting up Cygwin quite a few times in university, but I believe these days Cygwin is everything it offers is kind of obsoleted by the Windows subsystem for Linux. Cygwin was really useful for a while. Just might as well run native Linux now when you can. Yeah, I guess if you're on a Windows, if you're like on lab computers or something, you may not be able to just install it on bare metal. But Vim isn't that hard, as people make it out to be. After you learn a certain set of base rules, you'd be surprised how universal these rules. Yeah, that's mainly what I meant about how learning Vim is kind of like learning grammar or something. You learn these kind of generic set of rules, and then from that you can generalize a lot. AIN CRAD? Not sure what that is. For the first time you combined rules to do something, it's a certified aha moment. Yeah, it's neat when you like hypothesize that, you know, maybe this or that will work, and then it does. It's not impossibly hard, but my dad, who's been using Vim for almost 3 decades, still learning new tricks and stuff in it. Yeah, there's quite a bit of history to Vim. It goes back to like there's Vim, and then before that there's VI, and then there's the X, and then ED. Advice on dealing with self-harm. I don't have any advice on that. This is about Linux and video game development, and yeah, I'm not, beyond my qualifications. Did you write this game? Yes, this is a from scratch. It's an idea I've had for a while, and I decided I'll just go ahead with it. And given that I have a lot of my audience is into terminal-based stuff, it would make sense to make a terminal-based game. I don't think anyone's ever made put in a substantial effort to make a terminal-based game before. So I'll make a reasonable attempt to be the first. There are there's like Gmuds are the like dungeon multiplayer dungeons are those have been around for like ages, like since the 1980s or something. So I mean those are like terminal based games, but I was introduced to them a long time ago, but to me they just really are not. They're just like, it's like a command prompt where you have to read walls of text, and it's not really very engaging to me. So as I go, I'll keep adding features, and I can kind of use it as a like a teaching substrate for some of the various like command line the command line stuff that I talk about in other videos, like ANSI escape sequences and stuff like that. All that can be there's ways to apply that in this game. Can it implement grep or curl or other commands like that? Do you mean the game? Because I mean those commands exist. They're already available on the command line. I guess maybe you're thinking about like the concept of the shell, and like whether the shell has access to those commands. Because that's determined just by if grep is installed, and if the path variable is set, then you can run the grep command in the current shell. And so this game runs within it's another program that runs just like grep or curl or anything like that within the context of the shell. Is there infinite range generation? Yes, there is. So we're adding new things. I was just curious about what you were using for. Yeah, tonight I'm just, I actually added some new stuff today. Well, I did some like refactoring of how the blocks are implemented internally, and it doesn't look any different, but it's just some development changes to support future changes. And right now I'm just play testing it just to, I think I've already established that it's not broken, but after I play it for about an hour, I often find new bugs and stuff like that. And it's also just easy. I find paying attention to chat is like mentally difficult. But if I'm just doing some mindless task like this, it's pretty easy to pay attention to chat. Can you use the menu roles for anything at the moment, or is it just making the number bigger? Right now, it's just making the number bigger. There's a bunch of stuff that I have to do to make the game kind of more interesting. There's things I need to implement or fix before I can really even add new features. So right now, like if I add these positions are pretty like unflexible. So if I add new block types, like more than these ones, then it's gonna like go off the screen. So I have to figure out some better way of implementing this inventory menu so that it can be like scrolled or paginated or something. And right now there's no other kind of controls or anything like that in the game. One of the next things I'm probably going to work on is like refactoring how the screen is rendered and drawn, because right now like the height of this inventory menu is fixed and there's no way to resize it. This video seems way too extreme for me. It is pretty extreme, I'll give you that. Get a load of this. I increased the radius, so it's mining even more blocks now. Extreme terminal mining. That's what we're all here for. What do you think you're going to name the game? I think it's got a pretty good name now. Terminal block mining simulation game. I think it's pretty good for branding. how did you increase durability of your pickaxe? The game supports, mining is done with the M key. So you press M to mine, and then you craft with the C key. So when I press C, if I have the necessary amount of metallic iron and iron oxide and wood, then it'll make a pickaxe. So if I just hold down C, and it just makes a whole bunch of pickaxes. Need to add what do you call it, strafing, so I can go like diagonal. Is it arrow keys or something else to move? It's the WASD keys. Eventually I'll probably also make it so that arrow keys work as well. No diagonal movement? Nope. That's I guess that's why I playtest. I wouldn't ordinarily I wouldn't think to add that, but it's quite easy to add. So I probably will. Yeah. Yeah, I guess probably like Q and E would be diagonal, but I'm limited in the terminal because in a graphical session I can detect key downs, but in a pure TTY, there's no concept of key down or key up events. So I can't necessarily, like you might say, oh, I should, diagonal would be W and D, but I can't necessarily do that because there's no way to detect the actual down. You can only expect new character. Technically, it is possible in the graphical session to detect that, but it would not work in the pure TTY. Would you add separate keys for diagonal, or would it be press? Oh yeah. Maybe archaic, but a numpad. I gotta figure out how to remove those hearts. Can never read chat. Probably works great. Yeah, numpad. I mean, numpad is, when I think of numpad, I think of the thing on the side here, like the numpad keys on the side, but Yeah, I don't know. I'll put it on my to-do list to figure out some kind of diagonal, because this movement is pretty annoying. How about Terminer for the name? I don't know. For now, I'll probably just keep calling it Terminal Block Mining Simulation Game. Terminer is genius, but there's something about Terminal Block Mining Simulator Game that just rolls off the tongue. Yeah, I like a game that describes itself. So when you hear that, you'll always know what the game is and what it does. What's up, folks? Not too much, just mining some blocks. Sipping on my energy drink. Yeah, it doesn't look any different, but I changed some stuff today. I changed how the blocks are represented internally, and so that paves the way for some new block types that I want to add, and yeah, just a few different There are several different features and improvements that I need to make. By the way, thank you for recommending Windows subsystem for Linux. Plan on trying it. Yeah, I think it's the. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that everything that Cygwin could do for you, Windows subsystem for Linux probably can. It's maybe better suited. I know Cygwin is. I think Cygwin though it's designed to give you like a Linux-like interface in the context of the Windows file system. I can't remember if the Windows subsystem for Linux gives you like a totally different partition and stuff like that. Like if you can, I don't think you can launch exe files in Windows subsystem for Linux. It's more like an actual pure Linux environment. But in Cygwin, I think you can still launch exe files. So depending on the application, depending on why whoever at your school wants you to use it, you might still need to use Cygwin for whatever that application is. Based on Google search, looks like WSL is a compatibility layer, whereas Cygwin is just an emulator. I was the only one using Cygwin, as no one else manages learning Vim. Yeah, I guess it depends. Depends what you guys are doing. Is this for like a? Is this for university or like a high school type of course? We had a student cluster in our C class, but it went down. I needed Vim, so I got Cygwin and the cluster went down. Yeah, VS Code is that's the hip new thing that kids are using these days. I think Vim's definitely a good alternative. I mean, especially historically, although with the way like AI and stuff is getting, like I've tried out the AI code completion tools and stuff. And they're not that great, but at the same time, I'm also kind of scared about getting behind because a lot of that, like some of the visual editors now are like pretty crazy. So I guess it's probably good to also still maintain some familiarity with what's going on in those other, because I'm sure VS Code is like integration with a ton of other things now. But technically you can still do you can probably still do everything through Vim as well, but it's probably a lot more like config steps. But then of course, if you can do those config steps, then you have a much better grasp of what's going on in your computer. I'm in Uni 2. Just boot from pen drive flash with Arch and use NeoVim on Uni computers. I was using VS Code before it was cool. 2016. If you want, you can use NVChat. Never heard of that. Part of why I used Vim was because it doesn't autocomplete by default. I wanted to be ready for pen and paper coding on test, or it wouldn't have autocomplete. Yeah, I guess, you know, I've survived with Vim without autocomplete. I kind of wish there was some better autocomplete, like kind of like the stuff you have in Eclipse. I kind of miss some of those features, and I've been looking for some better alternative that to just an alternative to using Eclipse, like something that can just work in Vim, but I haven't found anything yet. But I think it has definitely forced me to become way better at like knowing the function names and knowing how to code it all by hand. NVChat is okay for beginners. I guess with the double configuration thing of NVChat. Yours is kind of not for me. I can't say anything about NVChat. I'm not familiar with it. Ultron 22. I don't know why you're bringing that up in this chat. It's not really, doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. If you need some help, this is not really the place for it. I think NeoVim has more robust autocomplete options, but not sure. Yeah, NeoVim I'm not familiar with either. So ban me, you know who I am. I don't think so, but know a guy who nerds out over plugins. There's something pure about plug and play without any adornments. Yeah, I try to stick to just like the vanilla Vim and whatever's the default. It's nice to have tools that just like automatically work, and like whenever you go on a new machine, or everything's just already the way you expect it to be. Now you know too. Gonna go back to my evening, but it was nice to meet the man behind all the favorite Linux commands and the rest of the chat. Have a good evening. Thanks for stopping by. And yeah, well said. Need to go too. Nice meeting y'all. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good night. Yeah, I might actually go too as well. I think I've proved my point. The game didn't crash. I got tens of thousands of blocks mined. Yeah, I think I'll probably call it a night as well. I need to go too. Nice meeting y'all. Have a nice day. Thanks, my name is Malcolm Martin Brothers. Brother's name is Brandon. I don't know. There's multiple people I can think of that are called Brandon, but I'm not sure. You're going as well. Yeah, I think I'll probably call it a night for tonight. I proved the point. I need to add some more features to make it more interesting. It'll be just more kind of it starts to get a bit boring mining the same blocks over and over again. But yeah, I guess I'll probably Saturday will probably be the next day for streaming. All right, till then, see you guys.